Karen and Abner, we have several repeat violations on the report tonight, mainly food at the wrong temperature, and that can make you sick. We also have some top performers on the menu. We start, though, with those violations.
Italian Garden at 1215 Avenue J had 12 violations. Here's a look at their priority violations. Canadian bacon was above the safe cold temperature of 41 degrees. Uncooked mussels were open. This could indicate death and a possible source of foodborne illness. The distributor claims all mussels should be closed prior to cooking and serving. There was an accumulation of black and brown residue in the soda nozzles. An employee's liquid cough medication was above a prep table. The bottom shelf of a prep table was lined with foil that was torn and disintegrating. All certified food handler certificates were expired, and no shell stock tags have been kept by the facility. The report shows most of the violations were corrected at the time of the inspection. Taqueria Atlan at 2722 50th had 22 violations. Here's a look at their priority violations. Raw bacon, raw chicken, raw eggs, ready-to-eat sausage, and pico de gallo were above the safe cold temperature of 41 degrees. Ready-to-eat lengua and cooked sausage did not have a use-by date. Strawberries were molded. Cans were dented. This can cause botulism. There was no soap or paper towels at a hand sink. Wall tiles in the kitchen are not designed for commercial use. There was no certified food manager at the facility, and there were no records available for shelf stock or for the production of ceviche. The report shows most of the violations were corrected at the time of the inspection. Applebee's Neighborhood Grill and Bar at 4025 South Loop 289 had 29 violations. Here's a look at their priority violations. Several sauces were above the safe cold temperature of 41 degrees. Lemons were visibly spoiled with a green growth on them. A hand sink was leaking wastewater onto the floor. There were no paper towels at a hand sink. The water at a hand sink did not get hot enough. Plates and bowls on a drying rack were still dirty. A spatula was dirty. Tongs were damaged. There was condensation inside of the glassware. The sanitizer in the dishwasher was not strong enough. An ice scoop was touching the outside of dirty liquor bottles. Toxic items were not labeled. Batteries with visible signs of leakage were near glassware. And the inspector notes, due to the number and the nature of the violations, management did not show proper food safety knowledge. The report shows most of the violations were corrected at the time of the inspection. Now to the good news. Here's a look at this week's top performers. Bluebird Coffee, Burger King at 2002 50th, E&J Smokehouse, K&B Barbecue and Catering, Tankle's Tangy Lemonade, and the Wingstop at 4409 114th Street.
You can check out the full list of violations on our website at kcbd.com. Just click on Food for Thought. Karen and Abner, back to you.
Thank you, Christy. She gets so excited about Food for Thought, sometimes she can't wait. She's got it.
Is that what